Good afternoon, everybody, on this Thursday, March 20th, 2025. I'm Dave Neal, and this is your Rush Hour Ride Home. All the content you need to get you there safe. And we've got an update on spring break, and Florida man bites off a guy's ear. So we'll have that story. Celtics sold for $6 billion. How about that? And Bachelor hard launch. Everyone in the Bachelor world is talking about a relationship that has caught me by surprise. Was Broco violated? We'll get into that. But the real story here, Blake Lively files her motion to dismiss. It's a juicy one. It's a doozy. We'll get that. Plus Jed Wallace as well goes under oath, signs an affidavit, and pretty much says, I ain't doing what you guys have alleged me to do. And we'll share that. And also a travel warning issued from my friends in the United Kingdom to where? To the United States. That's right. They are saying, be careful where you travel. So we'll get into all these stories and so much more. It's all happening right now on The Rush. Well, Florida man strikes again, right? Spring break brawl, a taste for flesh. Man's ear bitten off in Florida beach fight. He's only 18 years young, but hey, I mean, it's not going to be good for you. You can't be biting people's ears off. Remember we told people to fight fair and square, but like this guy, he was accused of punching this other guy in the back of the head and like pushing his head into the sand and then chomps off his ear. Not one of those Evander Holyfield nibbles on Mike Tyson nibbles on Evander Holyfield's ear. It was like a full-on kind of gotcha. I got big ears, so he would have a hard time. It would be a tall order to bite off my ears. But either way, bizarre story. We'll give any updates as they come. But this is what they talk about when they don't want spring break in Florida. They just want old people playing shuffleboard. No one's biting an ear off playing shuffleboard, as far as I know. And then another sad story. We'll get to more positive stuff after this. So I hate to start with tough stories, but Aubrey Plaza, they found out that she was actually separated from her husband before his suicide, which again, just, a tragic story. Not much else to say there other than she's, I'm sure, grieving for multiple reasons. I'm sure that no separation is ever easy. You get married thinking you're going to be with someone for the rest of your life, and then you can't necessarily be in control of someone else's emotions. And I'm just assuming she chose her and took care of herself. And then you find that out, and very tough time indeed. All right. Well, look, we're going to dive right into it. We're going to get right into the Blake Lively stuff. Okay. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot on my mind. I did my buddy Zach Peters' podcast yesterday. I think he already started to talk about it. It's going to be great ratings because, people will be very curious. But we had like a passionate conversation, which I'm all about. I am all about vigorous, passionate conversations regarding my chat with Taylor Lorenz. I've actually heard from multiple content creators that I guess don't like that I've talked to her. And I'm not saying Zach didn't like that I've talked to her. He just came at it from a different perspective that I did, which is I'd rather open the line of communication with people I disagree with in the off chance that rather than people are dunking on each other online, we can all have a deeper conversation about bigger issues. That's my goal. I'm not saying I always accomplish that goal, but if you haven't already checked it out, that conversation with Taylor Lorenz I have from the morning episode. I think it was a good conversation. Now, a lot of the comments were like, well, I don't like her, but which really misses the mark because that's not the point of the conversation. It's to exercise the belief that you can talk to people you may disagree with. And I understand. My other coworkers have had to deal with her in different ways, being harassed or defamation suits or mischaracterized online or whatnot. I understand that. I still stick by my core beliefs, and I was talking about this with the Patreon beforehand, which, by the way, I released some interesting information to the Patreon today about who I may be interviewing very soon. It's a big dog, a power interview. If you want to know that story, patreon.com/Dave Neal. No, it's not Justin Baldoni, but it's pretty close. It's a 1 degree separation from. So anyhow, with that said, I think I've spent years kind of talking about different cases, Bachelor-wise and others, and I think I've come to this opinion that I know what I want out of the internet. And it's malleable. I'll move it along with time, but I want sort of like positive discourse and finding what we agree on and not being super triggered to dunk on each other with things we disagree on, right? So maybe you don't believe in masks. Maybe you don't believe in vaccines. And it's so easy to be upset at that person. Well, my uncle died because of this. But but that doesn't change someone else's opinion. So I'm just trying to take a little bit of the emotion out of disagreeing with others and understanding the framework of what, if it bleeds, it leads, right? What works on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter, and not playing that game. Instead, having the type of conversations you would normally have in real life when you pick up a phone call. And I think we did that, Zach, Donna, and myself. I think we did that. I think people will probably fall into categories where they either understand my point or they don't. I think most people in my audience that have followed me understand the core principle, which is everyone's trying the best with the information they have, and therefore having conversations is better off than writing people off. Now, you might set boundaries. There's certain people where you're like, nope, not going to change their opinion. I'll set my own boundary. But as a content creator, I want to challenge myself as I call balls and strikes, right? I use that analogy, calling balls and strikes. Here's my strike zone. I want to be able to have conversations within this scope, and it's probably going to ruffle feathers with the type of people that go, no, not going to happen. Fine. Everyone can do with their channel what they want. But that's kind of where I stand. So I say all of that because we're going to continue to have this conversation about how we go about discussing not just Blake versus Justin, but that, like I said, that general strike zone moving forward with regards to whatever we cover, which might be Israel, the war, or Ukraine, or tough issues. Stick in that zone. Whenever people say, oh, I don't like Dave's politics, I go, okay, fine. That's fine if you don't have the same opinions as I do. But do you have the same sort of do you at least understand that where I'm coming from, I believe, is the route to greater peace within this sort of cultural civil war that we have. And people might say, well, that's super privileged of you to feel that way. But it's what are we going to do? Yell at every single person we disagree with? You know what I mean? Just block every single person? Sure. Okay. I think I can put my 2 feet strongly planted into the ground, share my opinions, and leave grace and room if people don't agree. So, 2 aspects of the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni story today to get to. The first, Baldoni's breaking the law, says Blake Lively. I'm going to read, because I don't think this court document is public yet, so I'm just going to read what TMZ is saying about it, and then I'm going to share Jed Wallace. Jed Wallace is the PR guy, the crisis PR guy that was accused of being behind a dark, malicious smear campaign. And he is on the record now, signed an affidavit, which means he swears he's telling the truth. And if they find out he's lying, he can go to jail. And people do lie on their affidavits, trust me. Laura Owens. People do lie. She lied about faking cancer. She did, even though she said she didn't. So either way, people do lie, but I'm going to share what he has to say after that. But first, Blake Lively says he's breaking the rules. She's saying he's just committing revenge. She's following the same game plan as her husband, Ryan Reynolds, officially asking a judge to cut her out of the lawsuit. She filed her motion to dismiss today, and according to the documents, she says Justin's actually violating the law by filing his lawsuit against her because it's all being done for revenge. She says her It Ends With Us co-star and director only filed his defamation suit against her, Ryan, and her publicist after Blake filed her lawsuit alleging he had harassed her while making the movie and launched a smear campaign when she reported the alleged abuse to the studio. She says, and this is where it gets interesting, she says, under California law, Justin is barred from suing her based on her accusing him of harassment, which is why she wants the judge to dismiss his suit against her. So I guess it begs the question, and I don't believe this is a proper interpretation of the law, but I don't really know. If you sue somebody or accuse somebody of harassment and you're lying, you can't expect for them to countersue you because that's considered revenge. So I know the basis for that. If someone does harass you, they shouldn't be able to intimidate you by suing you afterwards. You know what I mean? I understand the idea behind that, but boy, talk about a tough pickle to be in, where she can just throw all these haymakers at him and he's not even allowed to countersue even after she essentially cancels him. In the new documents, Blake's lawyers say Justin and his company have created more liability for themselves by their malicious efforts to sue Miss Lively into oblivion. That liability will come in the form of a lot of money. Blake says Justin will have to pay her legal fees, plus massive damages for having filed this kind of suit against her. Doesn't look like they're settling anytime too soon with this, folks. She addressed the bullying narrative Team Baldoni's put out, claiming Blake and Ryan are using their A-list Hollywood power to bully him. So anyhow, she's doubling down. Hey, and by the way, you got to respect someone for doubling and tripling and quadrupling down, right? Remember, Ryan filled his own motion to dismiss. We covered that. He called Justin thin-skinned and a predator. So again, I'm going to share the affidavit right here of what Jed Wallace said. And it's very interesting. But hey, we got bills to pay. So let's go quickly, very quickly to our sponsor today. Today's podcast is sponsored by Rula. Finding a therapist you trust shouldn't be so complicated or cost you a fortune. Rula connects you with high-quality, vetted, licensed mental health professionals that are suited for you. And here's the best part. They take most major insurance plans. That means instead of paying hundreds out of pocket, you could pay as little as $15 per session. Rula also supports you every step of the way, from finding a therapist to scheduling your sessions to tracking your progress and dealing with insurance. They make it happen. Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey towards improved mental health and overall well-being. Head over to rula.com/rushhour to get started today. After you sign up, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. Go to rula.com/rushhour and take the first step towards better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares. All right, so Jed Wallace is considered to be the alleged fixer of Justin Baldoni. And so he got sucked into this after those text messages were revealed that he was working. Jed Wallace, a mysterious Hollywood operator, says he assists people who found themselves in need of help, navigating through the most frightening situations. So he's a crisis PR person, but supposed to be like this dark guy or whatever. So he's sucked into this lawsuit. And I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe he's also countersuing Blake separately for defamation. But either way, he is doing his own motion to dismiss to get out of it. He did an affidavit, and there's a whole bunch of things like, I'm Jed Wallace, I'm over 18. You know, they do all these things because it's like a sworn statement. It's like you're under oath, but you're not in court. So you do it and you type it up and you sign it. But he says, neither I nor Street, that's his company, posted anything on social media on behalf of the Wayfarers parties or about Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, It Ends With Us, or any of Lively's or Reynolds' businesses. Neither I nor Street have ever asked or directed anyone to post about, comment, or like any social media posts about It Ends With Us, Wayfarer, Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds. I never publish, directly or indirectly, any information or content, negative or otherwise, regarding Lively. I've never met or interacted with Lively. I do not have a digital army in Los Angeles, in New York, or anywhere else. I do not have nor work with or direct a team in Hawaii. I have never been to Hawaii. I have an understanding of what a social combat or social manipulation plan could be, but that is not a service I provide relative to It Ends With Us. I do not specialize in executing confidential or untraceable campaigns across various social media platforms, including TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, and Twitter, to shape public perception. In early August 2024, I was contacted by Melissa Nathan about Justin Baldoni and potential stories or social media attacks on him. My job was to read, analyze, and assess all forms of media and trends taking place with respect to various issues. So he was kind of considered to be the astroturfing guy, the guy that was leading this online smear campaign. He's saying that's not it. He's essentially saying he's a consultant who reviews the online sort of like opinions of somebody and then puts together a plan. Well, in this document, he says he never had to do anything because he said by the time it got to him that the public was on Justin's side. He was like, we don't need to do anything. And that's their whole complaint, really. That's their whole response is like, we are fine. Everything's fine. So he says, I reviewed all forms of media, analyzed the sentiment of the coverage, and then provided updates on my observations. Most times my feedback took the form of informal comments that I made to Miss Nathan, who I understood to be in California. After passively observing the social media environment, I saw an organic outpouring of support for Justin Baldoni in the film. This observation led to my comment, we are crushing it on Reddit. So we means anything pro Justin Baldoni. My feeling based on what I saw was that no actions needed to be taken at that time and that everyone should let the sentiment on the social media unfold organically. In addition to observing that people on social media organically supported Mr. Baldoni, there appeared to be a dislike for Miss Lively based on her tone-deaf promotion of the film. Therefore, my advice was not to do anything at that time and let the sentiment on social media continue to unfold organically. Which, you know, if you're Blake Lively, it has to suck. It has to suck to find out that this whole fake campaign actually turned out to be real. So he, and I don't mean the campaign was real by Justin Baldoni. I mean, people just didn't like her organically. If anyone doesn't like me, I want to be like, oh, they must be Russian bots. I don't want to find out it's like a real person. Conclusion. As the court has surely noticed, this case attracts significant publicity, even as perhaps events of more consequence take place around the world. Boy, isn't that the truth? Yeah, there are bigger fishes to fry, which again, I hope that we cover here on the podcast. You know, we'll give you some drama and some salacious gossip, some salacious goss, sal goss. We'll give you some of that. And then afterwards, we'll try to cover real stories. Not that this isn't real. Culturally, there's relevance to why this is important to fight for your innocence. He says, but this particular circus doesn't need any more rings. I love that saying. I want to say that more often when I have beef with people. Hey, I know it's a circus, but I don't need any more rings. The claims against Wallace and Street should be dismissed either on the merits or for lack of jurisdiction or improper venue, or in the alternative, the claims severed and transferred. After all, Lively has already indicated a willingness to do battle and play in Texas. So there it is, folks. There is your update, and I think it's a relatively big one. It's an update of every single person is trying to get out of this, whether it's on Blake's side, and I understand, or on Justin's side, because it's going to be expensive. So I have yet to see one person flinch in this game of chicken. So I'll be interested to ask my lawyer friends if they've changed their percentage belief that this is not going to trial, right? Most of my lawyer friends say 99% chance this does not go to trial. Has that changed to 80%? We'll get those updates as they come in. But I tell you what, I've got a very interesting video for our hard launch for you here. Bachelor Nation news. There's been very little of it recently as we wait for Grant's season finale. But how about this? Serene Brooke Russell, formerly engaged to Brandon Jones, B-Mac Jones, right? Now with a new Brandon, which, by the way, is so great. If you've ever gotten a tattoo of a partner and then you broke up, just try to date people with that same name, rather than change your I love Rebecca to F Rebecca. You could just meet a new Rebecca. I don't know, maybe that's a bad idea, but wouldn't that be convenient? That's why you should always date someone with a common name like Dave. You could always find a new Dave. Find a new Dave. Hey, this is a circus, but I don't need any more rings. Oh, what a great saying. So either way, Brandon Moraes was part of the great unfollowing with what's her face, his girlfriend at the time. I'm blanking on her name. So not Serene. He's with Serene now. Either way, they are. So people are yelling at me for not knowing this, but too many names for me to remember. Too many rings in this circus in my head. So either way, this was probably the most surprising hard launch we've seen in Bachelor Nation in a very, very long time. Serene Brooke Russell and B-Mac Jones had a very, very bad breakup. She accused him of cheating. He says it didn't happen. There was, whatever. And then Brandon Moraes had the great unfollowing where he was caught on camera on Bachelor in Paradise talking about his desire to get new followers. And of course, because of that, lost 300,000 followers. So I'm shocked. They are both considered to be some of the most beautiful people in Bachelor Nation, so they have that going for them. But I wish them happiness, and boy, I tell you what, I guess we can't expect either one of them to be back on Paradise. And if you are wondering, are they actually together or not, say what you want. That's a hot couple. Hot couple alert. They can get a few more rings in my circus okay. Pitching a tent. Anyway, that's where they are. Wow, look at that. And how did nobody spoil this, right? How did nobody see this publicly play out that they've been schmooching? So we'll probably get more information as it comes, but I find this fascinating. All right, up next, I'm going to do some more talk about how the U.S. has travel warnings issued against us. That coming next. All right, I understand not everybody loves the political stuff, but in today's world, the political stuff is so important because of the fabric of democracy. And I don't mean to be hyperbolic when I say that, but Newsweek is reporting that Britain is issuing a travel warning for the United States. It's like you would get these for certain countries, like travel warning, don't go to North Korea. It's like, yeah, of course. Or travel warning, there's something brewing in, wherever the country. Well, the United Kingdom has updated its travel advice for British citizens citizens planning to visit the United States. Warning of potential arrest or detention if travelers fail to comply with entry requirements. You should comply with all entry, visa, and other conditions of entry. The authorities in the U.S. set and enforce entry rules strictly. Now, that's all fine. Everyone believes, yeah, of course you should, that's reasonable. But one of the problems that exist is the people that are getting detained that either didn't do something wrong or have an asylum hearing coming up, right? So we have a judicial system that is meant to work to protect people and to see if you come to the country and claim that you're here because you're fleeing a war or something and you have certain protections versus if you come over illegally and claiming asylum, like that's what you're entitled to do. We have these rights we give people. And when you come to the country, sure, you can be kicked out if you get arrested and you're here on a visa. You can be kicked out under absolutely. But what's crazy is you've got people that came to this country maybe at 3 months old, and now they're an adult, and they've been going through the process of getting their citizenship or have their green card or whatnot, and then they're deported to a country they've never even been to before. Like, this is happening, folks. And I've had sort of heated debates with people over this, but we have to live in a country where we fight for the right for people to have their First Amendment rights, even if we disagree with them. You might remember the ACLU has defended the KKK's right to freedom of speech. And that speech, of course, is not protected when it gets into certain things like hate speech and there are certain limitations to that. But in the case that we've discussed of Mahmoud Khalil, if he's the terrorist he's accused of being, it has to play out through the court system. And I'm going to share this clip from my good pal Chad's podcast, The Necessary Conversation. He has wildly different opinions on this than his parents do. He comes from Texas. Chad is the host of Game of Roses podcast, a fantastic podcast. He and his sister talk to their parents about these issues, even though they are completely on different ends of the story. Have a listen to this clip. It's fascinating. It might trigger some people that don't want to have the conversation, but it's fascinating regardless.
Mahmoud Khalil was arrested. He had a green card, but he's arrested and they're threatening to deport him.
They should hook his balls up to a car battery.
Get him out of there.
Oh, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Like, do you believe in free speech? Do you believe in free speech?
I believe
Not
in
from
loving.
that.
He has a green card.
Goodbye.
Need to turn it red and send his ass wherever he
All
comes
those
from.
people protesting at universities, get them out of here. Goodbye.
Why?
Because they're protesting against our America.
So all of the people during the Vietnam War, when they were protesting the war, get them out of here?
Damn right.
Kent State. Boom, boom, boom.
You damn right.
Mom, you're advocating for murdering students?
No, get them out of here. Deport them back to the country that they love.
They were protesting, didn't break up, got their ass shot.
I just said at Kent State, when they were protesting, the National Guard came in and started the shooting.
Killed students?
Yes.
Get them out of here.
Mom, you're for murdering students?
Yes.
Chad, don't put words in my mouth.
I'm not putting words in your mouth.
Have you guys ever protested? Have you ever been to a protest?
No.
No, I know you have. We've seen
We
it.
love our country.
Mahmoud Khalil.
Wow. I mean, it's quite shocking to people. I'm not surprised. I think it's so great that Chad is having these conversations. And again, people that don't like the conversation might say, well, you're platforming this racist or very insane belief. But I think it's important to have the conversation that they're having. Even if you might not change their opinions, you can poke holes in it or possibly show like, hey, we need to be a country for free speech. And again, that speech has been threatened in many different ways. And it's apolitical, really. It's been threatened on the left by people that don't want conversations about the efficacy of vaccines. And if you're going to promote free speech, you have to be able to promote whether or not you want to talk about, did the COVID vaccine come from a lab or from a wet market? Like, these conversations were shamed. And, you're allowed to shame people. Technically, that doesn't threaten your free speech. Technically, the only real free speech is like not getting arrested and things like that. Like, you can still get canceled if you work for a private person or things like that. But my point being is, these conversations are so important. If Mahmoud Khalil is who they say he is, which is a pro-terrorist sort of organizer and all of that, well, then put that through the court system. Because if he's not, if he's not who they claim him to be, then who is next? So I am not pro-terrorism group Hamas at all. I'm pro-free speech, and I'm pro-slowing things down. And if we're going to be sending people in flights of 350 people at a time to foreign prisons that we pay to contract with them to take our prisoners, if we're going to do that, we better damn well be getting it right through the court system. And what we're seeing play out is this politicization of the court system. We're seeing them, I don't have the clip ready to show you guys, but Caroline Leavitt, right, that's her name, the press secretary for Trump, said, oh, that judge that judge is a pro-Obama judge that came from the Obama administration. And then someone in the courtroom, a reporter, said, actually, that judge was appointed in the Bush era, and then Obama just promoted that judge. So we got to be careful, and we got to be like real delicate with saying, oh, these judges don't matter. I'm doing the right thing. No, that is the final brick wall we have defending democracy is the judicial system. I'm on Chad's side. I'm on the side of, if we're going to promote justice, and by the way, if you're following Justin Baldoni and you want him to get a fair trial, what makes Justin Baldoni deserve a fair trial that Mahmoud Khalil does not? And again, if they have the evidence that he is who they say he is, and he falls within the right to deport him because of that, and he's agitating and conspiring, you can actually, in this world we live in, be pro a terror group. And as long as you're not taking active measures to support that group, like rallying people to go fund them or things like that, you're allowed and entitled to that free speech, even green card holders. So I think it's a terrible precedent being set. I think it's super dangerous, and I think it'll lead to more silencing of protests out there, to the point I have to start wondering about my channel being, having issues. So I got to be very careful how I dance around the dissension here. It's a dangerous time. Dangerous time. And a lot of people have said this is what happened to the Iranian government in the 70s. They went from this free speech, free loving place to being under insane control. And if people can't speak freely and protest on college campuses against, what they believe to be a genocide, then what world do we live in? Scary times. All right. I got a lot to talk about still. I had my red eye last night, so I'm a little tired. I got a couple shows tonight in Nashville I'm going to go do, and then I'll be back in the morning. We're going to hit the ground running hard tomorrow, so stick around for that. If you enjoy our content, as nuanced as we try to be, please consider sharing with a friend. Please consider a 5-star review on the podcast apps and double checking that you're subscribed on YouTube. We appreciate the support. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Dave Neal. This is The Rush.